So welcome.
Okay. We are getting some support from Nick Van Breda also on the back end. So thank you for helping solve that little glitch there, buddy.
No problem.
It's with great pleasure that I would like to introduce Mark God, who is two things. He is the franchise owner of the Fit20 organization in Belgium, and I am a very happy Fit20 customer here in the Netherlands. That's not the topic of this. What he also does is work on helping people, including his franchise managers or entrepreneurs, sort of find breakthroughs in their life. And he has a book upcoming called God Mode, which he will talk about now. So Mark, I will hand it over to you, good sir. I'm just behind you on the stage. In case you need anything, I'll pop in and help you out if you need. If there's any chats I see on the YouTube chat, I will bring that in as well to let you know if there's any comments or questions from everyone.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Chris. Hi, Nick. I'm very excited to be here sharing this stage with you. And for those of you who are listening, welcome. It's 6 o'clock in Europe right now. I don't know where you are in the world. We're going to spend the next 90 minutes together in a highly interactive live online workshop. So that means that I am asking you to share your thoughts, to play along in exercises. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss with you my views on how to live like God on earth, to have the life that you desire and that you deserve. And it's no hype. It's just it's something that I truly believe in, that once we allow ourselves and enable ourselves to live great lives, that we feel we have more freedom, more fun, more fulfillment, that we are in a place where we can also help other people have great lives. This world needs more people, I believe, who give themselves permission to live big. And I don't know where in your part of the world, but where I come from the Netherlands, sometimes we say like, okay, just act normal, then you're weird enough. And I think that's sort of BS. We should throw it out of the door, because if we live big, if we love ourselves, if we have the courage to try out new things, even though they may seem a little bit weird or scary, then we can also help other people in a much bigger way. So if you agree, then share it in the chat. And I think that Chris is able to moderate and read the chat. I cannot see that here on the screen. So I will continue. It's going to be a 90-minute interactive workshop. If you have any questions or any thoughts, then just share it. And Chris will prompt me. So what I'm going to promise you is that I'm going to give you, and it's only 90 minutes. Normally this takes me a whole year. In fact, to help you realize that and implement new habits, new mindsets, new attitudes to actually, realize this vision of more freedom, more fun, and more fulfillment in your life. You need that. One thing is having the knowledge. The other thing is having the habits. And this world is so, let's say, it's complex, it's unpredictable, it goes very fast. We get distracted a lot. So I'm a big believer that if you want to, let's say, have better responses to life's surprises, you need to make these responses automatic, which means automatically better behaviors. So when somebody is nasty to you, let's say they cut you off in traffic, or you have a difficult phone call with a customer that's not so happy, or personally at home, maybe you have with your children or your spouse some issues, then we all know this old saying about stimulus and response. I think we only differ about 1% in terms of genetic composition from animals. So there's not a huge difference. But as human beings, the one biggest difference between, let's say, an instinctive response that the animals have And what we can do, if we are trained to do that and aware enough, is that we can put a little pause between stimulus and response. But that's not so easy. There's a lot of research done on that topic, but I believe that if you really want to respond more helpful, in a more helpful way, more skillfully, as Buddha says, a more skillful response, you need to practice so that it becomes second nature, right? And now, so how does it work? Let's say, and by the way, I love to use paper and pens. It's more tactile, it's more interactive. So that's what I'm going to use with you as well today. So let's say you are here now, and you want to go to some sort of, destination, a bigger vision somewhere into the future, right? How does it work? Is it a straight line? Generally, it's not, right? And let's say here is time, and here maybe these are your results or your performance. It's never a straight line, right? If they shoot a rocket to the moon, it's not a straight line either. I mean, there's continually there is correct and continue. So there's a nice saying that says, well, ready, fire, aim. Rather than ready, aim, fire, just do something, take an action, and then you can see what the outcome is of that action, and then you can course correct. Rather than being in your head all the time, thinking about, okay, what shall I do? What's the right response? The best decision is the right one, obviously, right? The second best decision is the wrong one. And the third best decision is no decision. So it doesn't really matter. Most of our actions, behaviors don't kill us, right? It's not like the old days where you really had to be careful because you could get killed easily by a wild animal or maybe a different tribe. But that's not the case anymore. But we still are programmed and wired to act like the humans that went 100,000 years before us. So inaction is a big problem for making progress. So it doesn't work like this. Now, basically, if you look at change, it's more of a process with, let's say, a long kind of period of stagnation, relative stagnation, and then you have some breakthroughs, and then there is some sort of phase of stagnation, and then there is another breakthrough. So this is typically more the pattern of progress, right? So it's very important that you learn to judge where you are, right? Are you in a transformational rapid change phase, or are you stagnating? Are you hitting your head against the ceiling no matter what you try? And so often, I don't know about you, but in my own experience, it's often more helpful to just step back a little bit, to relax, to take a deep breath before you keep pushing on. And we read all these popular business books, and there's all these guys in the US, many of them who tell us, well, if it's not working, you just have to push even harder. I don't believe in that. Of course, persistence is important. Not giving up is important. I think, was it Churchill who said, success is going from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm. And so there is a sense of grit and pushing through. But in my own experience, I'm feeling that when I feel stuck, it's often much more helpful to take a step back, take a deep breath, relax, maybe go for a walk, drink a glass of water, or maybe have a chat with a friend or loved one, and it gives you a whole new perspective. And so I think the notion that personal change, but it's not only personal change, it's also change in your business or in your work environment, is always a process of that goes stepwise. So there is, let's say, a relatively long period of slow growth, and then you have a rapid transformational change. So Daniel Kahneman talks about changing fast, changing slow. It's the various levels of adaptation that we have access to in our brains. It goes a bit too far to go into that right now, but it's a topic that I discuss in my coaching program, where I help you in a program to actually learn to make transformational change in all areas of your life. And so your the development, your personal development. So let's say your skill set, your capabilities, is a progression that alternates between relatively long periods of stagnation with then rapid transformational growth. And once you have made a, let's say, a move to a higher level, that becomes the new reference point. That becomes your new baseline. And you will never fall back anymore. I mean, a caterpillar that has turned into a butterfly will never become a caterpillar anymore. In fact, you may have heard about the story. I read it the other day, that it's not that within the cocoon, the caterpillar is developing wings, you know. It's not like that. I mean, it's a big mess. It's chaos. The cocoon becomes filled with the fluid, and there's no sign whatsoever, no cell left of the caterpillar. So it has to dissolve itself. It has to die, if you will, for it to be reborn into a butterfly. Yeah. So a butterfly is not a caterpillar with wings. It's a whole new creature, and in fact, we can observe with our own eyes, with some tools, how that works with those animals. So it's the same thing. Yeah, I like that analogy. Now, I'm a business coach, a leadership coach, and in my view, everything is about leadership. You know, I define whether you do marketing or whether you are in operations, or you are whether you're a nurse, or you are a manager, or an operator at a manufacturing unit, or maybe even a volunteer for the Peace Corps. It doesn't really matter. Everything is about leadership. So I define 3 levels of leadership. There's leading self, there's leading others, so teams or other individuals, and there's leading business. So those are, for me, the 3 levels of leadership. You cannot lead others if you cannot lead yourself. And if you want to lead yourself, if you want to learn to lead others, you have to have clarity about who you are. Right? It's like Socrates, who says the unexamined mind is not worth living. And so it's extremely important that you, I mean, in my view, I'm an explorer, and not everybody's the same. I make that mistake at times, but I am very much excited by the process of learning, the process of discovery of who I am. You know, what are my preferences? What are my strengths? And we all have plastic brains. It's not that we learn some stuff in school, we get born with a lot of good genes or bad genes, and that's it, right? No, research suggests that we can continue to change our brains, to develop our brains, and continue to grow till the very last day, till our very last breath. So I'm just somebody who has a huge love of learning. I love to learn new stuff. It comes with a drawback, which is I get easily distracted, because there's so many things that I love to do and that I love to study, that I need some tools and techniques, and we're going to discuss some of those. Maybe the same applies to you, to be able to stay focused and to make progress on a few key projects. And so that's personal development here. And then there is your business. And in a way, it goes like that. So let's say the blue line here is a development of your business development, and the green one is PD, is personal development. So what you can see here is that your business can only develop to the extent that you develop as an individual, right? So if your business stagnates, there is a good chance that it is because you have some limiting beliefs, or maybe some unhelpful practices in your life that you need to change personally. So that's, again, the personal leadership, and then you get your business leadership, which is a combination of leading others, or you cannot do anything meaningful by yourself alone, right? You always, one way or the other, I mean, we all want to be independent human beings, but I don't know how long you can live without the help of anybody else, even if it's your supermarket where you can just go and grab what you want to eat, right? I think it's a fallacy or myth that in our Western world, anyone can live long without the help of anybody else, even if we don't realize it. So the ability to interact effectively with other people is an extremely important skill. And so if your business stagnates, that's probably because you have some limiting beliefs or you have some new capabilities that you need to learn, right? Or maybe it can even go a level deeper. Maybe it's at the level of your identity. Maybe you have identified with the busy entrepreneur or the busy professional, the person who has to do everything herself. So if you want to make progress towards towards making your business bigger, towards helping more customers, for instance, you need to be able to let go. You need to learn to delegate to other people. And that's not so easy. You need to learn how to do that. And so I'm a big believer of freedom. I think we all are born to be free. I mean, I feel extremely free. If it's okay, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've worked in businesses for over 30 years. So I've been in large corporations, worked and lived all around the world. I was in the petrochemical industry, had great opportunities to learn, meet great people, work with great people, and have great impact. At the same time, after 15, 20 years, I felt I want to make a shift. I want to get more control over my life, because my kids were getting older, and we were having these golden handcuffs, if you will. We were being moved as expats all over the world. Salary is great. You live in wonderful houses, but you have no control anymore over where you live, what you do, with whom you work, which projects you work on. And so I chose to make the leap of faith. In fact, I've been talking about it for a very long time, until my wife said to me, Caroline, said, "Okay, Mark, either you do it or you stop talking about it, and I'm behind you." Now, I'm forever grateful to her for that, because if she hadn't done that, then I still would have been in a big corporation with this. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Many of my friends still do, but I wanted to have more freedom, more control, and I wanted to be able to decide where I work, when I work, with whom I work, what I do, what impact I make, and especially that last point is something which is interesting in my view. And it took me until I was 43 years old to come to that realization that basically all my life I had been working to support other people's goals, right? And I felt, especially in the beginning, I felt pretty aligned with their goals. Why? Because in pursuing the corporation's goals, I had the opportunity to develop myself. Very similar to this picture here, but this element of fulfillment, this element of making a big impact on the world with what I do, with my knowledge, with the way I interact with people, that for me was the freedom that I couldn't find in the big corporations, and also the freedom of time. We now live in the center of Brussels, Belgium. We just moved a couple of weeks ago here we were in the countryside with a family home, but then the youngest one just graduated this year in a bit of an awkward way for a high school student, but he didn't have to do exams like all of our high school students, people that we know, but yet he got his diploma and he will be moving on to university. So all three of our children will be out of the house, and my wife and I are starting a new chapter in our life. So we long wanted to go back into city life where we had been 20, 30 years ago. So I love it. We got rid of one car. I decide on my time, how I spend it, where, with whom, or what. So I've got this freedom of time. It's fantastic. As Chris announced, I have two businesses. So I've got and in fact, I'm going to talk about that tomorrow at 3 o'clock for 1 hour with one of my studio managers. I own the master franchise for Belgium and Luxembourg for a high-end personal training concept. So this is boutique studios. We got 12 of them right now in Belgium. It started in the Netherlands 15 years ago. I started 5 years ago in Belgium, and in the Netherlands 15 years ago. There, they've got 130 studios. We have 150 globally, with more than 15,000 clients that we are supporting every week. Once a week for 20 minutes. I'm not going to share more about that. Then you have to come back tomorrow at 3 o'clock. on this channel here, on this stream. But this is amazing. So apart from that, let's say that being a business owner for that Fit20 business in Belgium and Luxembourg, so it's a franchise system, I'm also a business and a leadership coach. So I help entrepreneurs and professionals like you to make massive progress in all areas of their life. Primarily, of course, their business. So the business goals are my primary focus of helping you. But I don't know about you, but I believe very much in balance and peace of mind. I want sanity, I want balance, and I want, let's say, to be successful in all areas of my life. Because how can you consider yourself to be successful at work if you fail in your most important relationships? Think about that. And that's maybe a little bit painful to come to that realization. Of course, some relationships may not work, but I believe that if an area in your life is not working, then that will draw back everything else. It will drain your energy. It will continuously scream for attention, for your attention, and that will have a detrimental effect on your performance in your business and hence of your business. So I consider 5 key life areas, and there's many ways to split it up, but 5 I find like a good number. 1 is my health and energy, and that includes my physical health, but also my mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health and well-being. So that's number 1. Number 2 is my key relationships. And so I call that love and relationships. So those are my relationships with my of course, my spouse, with my children, with my parents, my sisters, my best friends. That's on the personal side, but of course there is also the business side where I've got all the stakeholders, my customers, my franchisees, my team, my extended team of support people like digital marketeers, copywriters, analysts, financial advisors. I've got this whole extended team working for me and helping us accelerate fast with our business. And helping me do the things that I don't want to do or that I'm not good at. I'll get back to that in a minute. So the second area is my key relationships. The third area is money and wealth. We need income now, cash to pay the bills, but also to pay for the things that we love to do, hobbies, vacation, cars, convenience, clothes, what have you. So money and wealth, but also we need wealth building for the future. It's very, very sad to learn that the average American owes $25,000 when they die. So they are $25,000 in debt the moment they die, which is unbelievable. And I don't think it's much better in Belgium or where I live, or in the Netherlands, or in many other Western cultures and countries. So it's something to keep an eye on, especially if you're an entrepreneur. It's not so obvious. I mean, if you work for a big corporation and it's a good corporation, then often they take care of you. You get health insurance, you get a pension, all that kind of good stuff. Maybe you get shares or stock options. But if you're an entrepreneur, so when I transitioned into becoming an entrepreneur, I put all my money into building the business, but I also need to be careful that I build a nest egg for later on. So the third element is money and wealth. Then there's 2 more left. One is business and career. So whether you have a job or whether you own a business, or maybe you are a solopreneur. For instance, let's say a lawyer or a doctor, a medical specialist, or those are solopreneurs. These people, they, you also need to take care of yourself, a dentist, you name it. And the 5th area is your self-expression or self-actualization, as Maslow calls it. And so those are all the things that you like to do to creatively express yourself, but it also includes your hobbies. And so health and energy, love and relationships, money and wealth, business and career, and self-expression or self-actualization. Those are the 5 areas, and I like to consider them as a wheel of life, if I call it, like I want to call it. So I want to do a little exercise with you, and I hope you have a piece of paper. If not, you can do it by the top of your head. But if you have a piece of paper, draw a circle, and please draw those 5 areas. Yeah? So let's say we got here health and energy. We got love and relationships. We got money and wealth building. We got business and career. And we've got, let's say, self-expression or self-actualization. So those are the 5 areas. Now, I want to give yourself a score on a scale of 1 to 10 for each of these areas. And of course, you can, later on, you can do it for yourself in a very detailed way, as I suggested. So if you look at the area of health and energy, you can split it into physical health, mental health, emotional health, and spiritual health. But just now, do a little, just a global number, a global score for each of the 5 categories. Give yourself a number on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being you're not very happy with your current level of let's say, where you're at, and a 10 being it's totally fantastic. You can recommend your health or the quality of your relationships to everyone on the planet. So give yourself a score. I give you a few minutes, and write that score down next to each of the categories. So let's say I'm going to do that for myself now. Please do the little exercise real quick. We don't have a lot of time today. So let's say I just put in some numbers here. I would give myself an 8 for health and energy, a 7.5 for love and relationships, a 7 for money and wealth building, a 10 for self-expression or self-actualization, and a 9 for business and career. So let's say that's my score. Now, and you all, it's very easy. I mean, if I ask you to do that, it's very easy to give yourself a qualitative score on each of these 5 life areas. And this is an exercise I do regularly, at least once a year, but generally once a quarter. I like quarterly planning very much. So what I do in my workshops, if I support you, and that is a program that takes a year, where I'm going to support you for a whole year in getting to where you want to be in all these areas of your life. And that's a mix of physical face-to-face meetings, workshops of a full day. There are sometimes I can be even outside retreats, depends on what kind of program you sign up for. And there is also a lot of online interaction, either as a small group or one-to-one, which means you get as much access to me as you need, one-on-one, or in these set meetings with a smaller group, to really help you make the progress that you want to make, right? So now I'm going to give you, and by the way, let's park this exercise for a minute. And now I'm going to share something with you first, real quick, which is, and I promised you, the title of this talk is the 7 breakthrough keys to transform your business and your life. So we get back to this exercise in a minute. And the first key is extremely important. And it may be a little bit difficult to accept, but there's no other way. So I'm going to write it down for you. And then I'm going to see if you agree. So the first key, what does it say? I hope you can read my handwriting. I should have become a doctor, but it's not too bad. So what's the first key? Be accountable. What does that mean? That means that you take responsibility for everything in your life. The good, the bad, and the ugly. You take full responsibility for everything in your life. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's extremely important. Extremely important. And I'll get into that in much more detail during my workshops. So I'm just gonna scratch the surface on each of the keys, but I'm just trying to come to the essence of it so that you can relate, right? Now, why is this important? Just try to stay with me. If you believe that you can have a significant impact on the progress that you make towards the future, which means you're free, right? There's free will, and not everybody agrees, right? I mean, there's a whole metaphysical discussion about free will versus determinism, and there's no scientist yet that has been able, or no religious leader yet that has been able to prove one or the other. I think it's Henry James, or let's say conclusion, which is it's probably a bit of both, right? Because take nature for instance, is governed by a few very simple rules. And you can model nature by a few simple rules. These are the rules, the laws of nature. They don't change. They govern what happens in nature. Does it mean we can predict what it's going to look like? No. But they govern it, right? So gravity is a law of nature. We cannot change gravity. We can try to defeat gravity, but it's not possible, right? So there are, let's say, given rules that govern the universe, but within that kind of set of rules, we have the ability to make choices and influence our outcomes to an extent. That's what I believe. That's what very smart people have thought about, and I subscribe to that idea. So if that means, the good news is that if you believe that you can have some, sort of influence on the progression of your life by the choices that you make, by the responses that you give in difficult circumstances or as a reaction to other people, that means that where you are right now is to a certain extent the consequence of the choices that you made in the past. True or true? That means you need to be able to take full responsibility and accountability for it, right? Another good reason why you should feel responsible for everything in your life is because if you do that, then you stop giving it negative energy. Because if you don't like where you are right now, if you feel miserable, if you blame everyone or circumstances, events, other people, then that negativity will continuously keep you there. You will give it energy. What you focus on expands. So if you want to move away from where you are today, and that's a little bit of a paradox, then first you need to accept it. You need to embrace it and say, look, my negative thoughts or my health problems or my dysfunctional relationships or my money problems, or these are all the result of the choices that I made in the past in response to events, circumstances, opportunities. Hence, I'm going to accept them. It's not that I like them, but I embrace them, I acknowledge them. So if I get these kind of negative thoughts, or if I get confronted with my current situation, maybe with my health limitations, I can say, hey, welcome. It's okay. And I will move from here to there. So only by accepting it will you be able to move to the next level. Okay? So that's very important. Now, what is the opposite to being accountable? The opposite to being accountable is what we call being a victim, right? Now, what are the characteristics of being a victim? Victim behavior. You can easily spot a victim by observing one of three things, and often they go together. One is victims, they love to blame. Yeah, blame the weather, blame other people, blame traffic, blame my boss, blame COVID-19. That's a fantastic one. The other one is they tend to complain a lot. Now, if you want to hear complainers, then big corporations are great for that because they've got water coolers or coffee machines. If you want to find victims, you just go there, spend time by the water cooler or the coffee machine, and you find all the victims in the corporation. They always know exactly what's wrong and how things need to be different and why they are so miserable, but it's always outside of them. They put their locus of control outside of them instead of inside of them. Yeah? The locus of control inside you means I take full control for everything in my life, which means I am an actor instead of a reactor. So blaming, complaining, or justifying. So justifying or explaining. Explaining sounds better. Blaming, complaining, explaining. But basically, justifying means these are the people who always. Well, they get you have a meeting with them and they show up late, right? And they tell you, yeah, I'm late because, and there's always a reason. I don't give a shit why you're either late or you're on time. If you're late, okay, fine. Sorry, I'm late. But I'm not interested in knowing why you are late. Who cares? You're late. You're either late or you're not late. So own it, and just say, yeah, I'm sorry. I had a car problem. That works. I got too late into the car. That's why I'm late. So that's victim behavior. So a nice saying goes, you either have reasons or you have results. Reasons being excuses, results being progress. You cannot have both. So you either have reasons or you have results. So you have to let go of being the victim. You have to take full accountability for everything in your life. So that's key number one. Now let's go back to our wheel of life, because that's what this is called. Now that you have committed to taking full responsibility for everything in your life, now you can actually decide where you want to go. So exercise number 2. I'm going to ask you a question, and normally when I ask this question to people, they take about between 30 minutes and 45 minutes to answer it. And I don't say anything. I don't have to, because they keep talking. So the only thing I need to do is listen. Now, we don't have 30 or 45 minutes to answer this one question because we've got more keys to discuss. So it's going to be, I'm going to scratch the surface, but I want to give it to you to just get a feel for how powerful it is. The question goes like this. If we were having this conversation 3 years from now, on July 10th, 2023, what has to be true for you, both personally and professionally, in order to be happy with your progress? So, again, if we were having this discussion 3 years from now, on July 10th, 2023, what has to be true for you, or what has to have happened in order to be happy with your progress? And you consider all key areas of your life. Okay? So one way to answer the question could be to say, well, let's give myself a score on any of these 5 areas that I want to improve. Maybe you want to improve your health or your key relationships, or you want to be able to put more money aside for later, or you want to maybe, find a way to free yourself up from your business so you have more time for other important things in life. So a good way is to actually give yourself a new score in any of these areas. So let's say, let me give you an example. I'll take, let's say love and relationships, okay? I want to move that one, let's say, to a 9, okay? Okay, so I'll take one. You can take one. And then I can think about, okay, if I want to go to a 9, and I'll tell you why, by the way. I find that I don't have as much time available for my best friends as I would like to have available for them. And that's because I'm very active in my business. I'm launching, or I'm, let's say, further expanding my business coaching program. We had this move. We got the family. Lots of balls in the air, and I find that I'm disregarding my most important friendships too much, and I don't like that. So
Mark,
yeah.
your best friend community still loves you, even though you're busy.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. That's very reassuring. Well, I have to say, Chris, I can always call you day and night, and we love each other, and we're always there for each other, and that's fantastic. So
keep going. I'm enjoying this. I've heard a lot of it before, but it's making me think. So keep going. Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
So thanks, Chris. So let's say I want to move towards a 9. And then it's very easy for me to define, well, what does it mean, a 9? How would I describe a 9? Well, maybe I want to set aside more time for my two friendships. Maybe I want to have a dinner with them regularly, or maybe send them a personal postcard or a letter. There's many things you can come up with. It's not rocket science. It's pretty easy. But as I discussed before, we get so easily distracted.
Mark, something that's happened to your microphone a little bit.
Oh. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. It was just a bit muffled. So keep going. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay, no problem. Maybe I was just having my hand in all excitement against the microphone. So that's an example. It's not difficult. It's just a matter of being conscious about what are the most important areas in my life that I would like to improve. So once more, if we were having this meeting 3 years from now, on July 10th, 2023, what has to have happened for you, both personally and professionally, in order to be happy with this progress? That's the question. Okay. So now we get to key number 2. What is God mode key number 2? Key number 2 is be bold. So I want you to give yourself permission to be bigger, better, bolder, brighter, and more beautiful. To allow yourself to be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more beautiful. Because as Marianne Williamson so famously has said, the world needs people who have the courage to be big, and people who are holding themselves back are in fact not only doing themselves a disservice, but they're doing the whole world a disservice, because you can never help other people be big if you are not willing to be big. So, and that's a curse in our society nowadays, that we believe there is scarcity. And I know this is a controversial saying, because we talk about, well, how sustainable is our current growth? We are depleting key resources. We are overpopulating the planet, and what have you. I mean, there's many good talks about that. But I am a big believer in this idea of abundance. There is an abundance of energy. There's an abundance of love. There's an abundance of creativity. There's an abundance of opportunities. And that's a matter of a decision. You have to make a decision for yourself to say, well, I let go of this idea of scarcity and I embrace abundance. And it doesn't mean that we should be irresponsible. I mean, I hate wasting stuff, wasting resources, wasting materials. This whole consumption society, that's a whole different thing. But there is abundance. There is so much energy. There's so many ideas. We could feed the world. We could save the planet 10 times over if we just allocated these resources properly. And if we made it frictionless for these resources to find the right places where they are needed most. But there's enough energy on the sun to actually convert all the water that we need to convert into fresh water, to light the whole planet, to feed, to produce all the food that we need to feed everyone a nutritious meal, to have the medicine that we need. Although, talking about medicine, but that's more for tomorrow, I'm a big believer in prevention. That's also victim behavior that we think, well, other people like hospitals or insurance companies or the government need to take care of me, of my health and my well-being. I don't believe in that. Yes, of course, if we are in a disaster, they do. I mean, that's a sane society that takes care of its weakest participants. But overall, we have been equipped as human beings to take care of ourselves and to help each other and prevent diseases and prevent issues from coming up and getting worse. So allow yourself to think bigger, bolder, brighter, more beautifully. That's a big one. So that's key number 2. If you do that, then of course you can allow yourself to come up with whatever score you would like to come up with in any of these areas. It doesn't mean it will happen overnight. It may take effort, it may take focus, it may take help from other people, it may take patience as well, letting go, but you have to allow yourself to have a big vision. So that's key number 2. Where are we on time? Key number 3 is so key number 3 is be unique, right? We're all human beings. We share a lot of, let's say, characteristics. But at the same time, of course, we are all different. We are uniquely different. I'm a big believer that we are here on this planet for a reason. We have a purpose. It's not always easy to find it, but at least we have a unique set of skills and temperaments. So let's say the way we bring our skills, our knowledge, our skills into the world for the benefit of others. And that's what we call creating value in return for money or in return for love or whatever. So we all have a unique set of talents and the way we express those talents. That together makes us unique. Now, I don't know about you, but one of the things that I also learned in the corporate world, and by the way, I've got nothing about big corporations. I think, I know you can do great things there, and there's a lot of leverage that you may not have as a smaller entrepreneur. But there's often people that tell you, well, you have to do all these kind of things that you may not like because life cannot be always like a candy store. And that's a big one for me too, is allowing myself to spend 80% of my time on those skills and activities that I am fascinated by and motivated by, so that I am uniquely special and good at, that nobody in the world can do the way that I do them. Now, so we're going to do a little, and that takes courage, by the way, because you need to learn to be able to say no to people or tasks where you don't feel congruent with your uniqueness. Now, we're going to do a little exercise here, and it goes like this, because it's very. If I ask you, well, what are you unique at? What are your unique talents, your unique capabilities? That's not so easy. But there's another way to do it, which is much easier, So I'm going to show how we're going to do that, right? So let me first draw a little circle here. Okay, so I need to figure out how to put these papers back right in the right place. It's about this. Okay, so you see 3 circles here, or 3, elliptoids. I don't know how you call them, elliptoids. With an A, a B, and a C in them. Okay. Now, A represents all the activities that you have, but that's the biggest circle. But A are the activities that don't motivate and don't fascinate you. So I want you to write down on a piece of paper 3 columns, A, B, C, or just take a piece of paper, and we're going to start with A. So make a list of all the things that you hate to do, that drain your energy, that you feel you're not good at, that don't motivate you, that don't fascinate you, the things that you keep postponing, that you keep procrastinating on. So make a list, and you can also do it on this piece of paper here. You can list some of those tasks. That's another way to do it. Yeah, or you just take a piece of paper. So I want you to write down all your A tasks. Write down 5 or 10. Very easy. For me, it's administration. And I love it when my administration for my businesses is nicely organized, but I hate to do that. And so, but it needs to be done if you're an entrepreneur. But the question is, do I need to do it, or are there alternatives? That's A. Now, these are the tasks that my coach calls crappy stuff. You just don't like it, and you will never like it. Now, B are the tasks that you are somewhat good at, but they're still not uniquely you. So they cost you less energy. You may even like to do them. For instance, for me, it's like working on our online marketing campaigns. I love to do that, or shooting videos. But am I uniquely good at that? Not really, right? So that's B. And then C are the tasks that you are uniquely good at, that fascinate you, that motivate you, where you can be the biggest you when you are doing those tasks, right? So that's C. And that's ultimately what you want to spend 80% of your time on. You want to spend 80% of your time on C tasks, and you want to get rid of everything else. So how does the exercise work? First, make a list of your A tasks, then list your B tasks, and what remains are your C tasks. It's pretty easy. Then, of course, the next step is to find somebody who can do those A tasks for you. Often people keep postponing forever on hiring a personal assistant, or maybe an external consultant or a team member who can do certain tasks that you don't like to do. Now, a myth, it's a myth that we think that the tasks that we don't like to do, that other people don't like to do them either. That's not true. I mean, I have a personal assistant, and I told her yesterday, I said, look, I'm really sorry, I hate this. And she said, I love it, give it to me. For instance, going online to my energy provider, my electricity provider, and open up the PDFs, download them, print them and file them, or file them in my online system. And for my accountant, I hate that because it's a very repetitive task. I need to log on, I need to remember the password, then I need to open these applications, and every application is different. I don't like that. And she said, I love it. And I love to log into all these bloody different systems and then download the files, save them, and send them to the accountant. And I said, well, that puts a big smile on my mouth, on my face, that you love that. So the thing that you need to remember here is that, first of all, you are uniquely designed and wired to do a set of tasks and activities in a unique way that nobody else can do or wants to do as much as you do. It's totally okay that you work towards allocating more and more time towards those few key tasks that make up your unique ability. And third, you just have to remember that you don't have to feel guilty at all to try to delegate the other tasks. Why? Because there are other people who love to do these A and B tasks. So actually, you're giving work to these people. You're not throwing it over the fence. You're truly delegating, you're empowering them, you're trusting them, and you're making them part of your team or your extended team. So that's key number 3. Be unique. I hope you still like it. I said it's going to be a highly interactive workshop. Well, the interactivity of this workshop is going to be you doing the exercises, you thinking and exploring your brain, exploring your emotions. Does it irritate you what I say? Does it scare you? Do you feel, does it overwhelm you? Do you feel like I will never be able to actually do that? Don't worry. It doesn't have to happen overnight. I mean, you have time, right? You can do it in steps. Who's that? Chris. I can't hear you, Chris. But you look beautiful.
I said, I'm just here being unique, having fun. So I'm being highly interactive over here. So keep going,
Chris,
Mark.
We need to see your face. That's fantastic. You are unique. I knew that, but now you look unique too. So key number 3, be unique. All right. Now we're going to go to key number 4. Chris, you're putting a smile on my face. I'm not sure I can get rid of that smile over the course of the next half hour. So key number 4, and that's, by the way, that's totally okay, is be, what is it? Key number 4 is be what's the word? Key number 4 is be deliberate. Okay? Be deliberate. Why? Because if we are not deliberate in what we do, in where we allocate our time and our energy, then our time and our energy will run us. It will. I mean, the world will dictate what we need to do, right? Peter Drucker, one of the most important management thinkers of all time, he's dead now, but it's from, let's say, the second half of the last century, is the one who famously said that if people look back at this era, let's say the first few decades of the 21st century, 50 to 100 to 200 years from now, is not going to be the technology, the iPhone or the internet or what have you, or that we have to our availability. Is not the technology that they're going to talk about. What they're going to talk about is what the technology has allowed us to do or has caused, which is a tremendous surge, exponential growth in the amount of data and information that comes to us, the number of distractions, if you will. And we, as a human species, have not learned to navigate all that information. It's just too much. Our brains have not been wired to be able to deal with that vast amount of information and data. And then on top, of course, we have now access to the whole world. So it's new cultures that we interact with, that we get, it's time zones, it's different mediums. So, but it's, in essence, is all the distractions that come at us. Which means, and I don't know about you, but because I'm a person who's very kind of curious and explorative, and I just want to learn how things work, and I want to discover the world, I get very easily distracted. And is that a bad thing? Maybe not. I mean, I can spend the rest of my life, I don't know how long it's going to last, on exploring. I mean, I've never been bored in my life. I will never get bored, because I just love to learn new things, to discover new things. But if you want to have results, if you want to, remember the graph where you make step change improvements, whether it's in your business and in your life, you will have to have a level of focus. It's like, you cannot, let's say, launch 3, 4, 5 rockets in an orbit around Earth all at once. You get too much distracted. It's like this famous thing with all the little turning plates that you try to keep turning. It's very difficult. Yeah, it's like shoveling snow. If you're in a country where they have snow, if your snow shovel is too wide, it's very difficult to make progress, because you're just trying to move a lot of snow all at once. It's much easier to make it more focused, more narrow. And so I like the analogy to say, well, if you have a new project, a new business, or a new idea, just allocate time and energy and money and other resources to it until it has gained some traction, some momentum, so that it starts to self-perpetuate, so that perhaps it's easy and simple enough so that other people can help you, have it turn faster and faster. Because you have to remember, if you are a leader, and we are all leaders, but if you are somebody who is ambitious, who wants to have a bigger, better, bolder, brighter, more beautiful future for yourself and for others, then one thing you need to remember is that you see things that other people don't see. You have one of the characteristics of leaders is that leaders can see around corners. Leaders see things that the people they lead cannot see yet. That's why a key component of leadership is communication. Communicating your bigger and better vision for the company or for the world. Helping people to see that. Encouraging people that it's okay to move towards that bigger vision, into the uncertainty, into the complexity, into the unknown world. And that's the excitement of the world, right? We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and that's what makes life so exciting. What if, it's scary, yeah, but what if we knew exactly what was going to happen in an hour from now, or tomorrow, or next year? That would be very boring. We can better stop living, right? It's much nicer to say, well, look, I may have, let's say, I can look back in the past where I came from, but where I came from doesn't mean that I will progress that trajectory into the future. It's like a speedboat, a boat that has a certain, or an airplane that has a certain tail of where it came from. You can see it if you look back in the water. But right now, right here, the present moment is the only moment there is. The past and the future don't exist, as we all know, from our mindfulness programs. The past is nothing else than a memory in the present moment about something, and the future is nothing else than an anticipation of a future possibility. But we can anticipate anything. We can make up anything. That's why transformation doesn't take time. Transformation happens in the here and now, in an instant. But translating that bigger and better vision for that butterfly future may take time. Why? Because you have to tell other people, you have to put, systems and things in place, teams, to actually start to materialize. You need to learn new skills, you need to practice, because if we don't practice, we cannot, it's not by picking up a book to learn to ride a bicycle. We need to practice, right? So being deliberate is about being clear about what it is that you want to achieve. So it's about goal setting. Power is to the goal setters. We all know that there was a Harvard study that said that 90% of all success, of all wealth, or all fame is with the 80% of people that have set goals and wrote them down. If you are among the goal setters that have goals and write them down, then you have a much bigger likelihood of being successful. And I'm not defining success for you. You need to do that yourself. Success is what you make it to be. It can be more freedom of time. It can be more freedom of relationships. It can be more freedom of money. It can be anything that you desire. Think back about the 5 categories. You decide what success means for you. But success requires change. And change requires focus, persistence, patience, right? So being deliberate is about goal setting. Now, earlier I said I love the 90-day, kind of the quarter, as a timeline. So if we go back to the circle of the 5 life areas, what I like to do in this specific key of being deliberate is to set specific goals. So I have a little, I don't have it here. I do, but we don't have time to go into much detail. But I have just a very simple table that I use where I have the various life areas. I'm just showing 3 here, 4. And then you can say, well, what is my vision and my big vision for my life? Then you can say, well, where am I right now? So that's now. And you can say, well, where do I want to go? So I call that my 90-day vision, which is very specific. So, you can just write it down. And then what are the one to 3 actions that I can take in the next 90 days to move from where I am to where I want to be? So these are, I always like to use the A with the circle of actions. And then finally, of course, you have a check mark to check, well, did I actually make that progress? Did I do the work? And so with this tool, in a very simple mechanical way, you break down your, let's say, the things that you need to do, that you need to focus on to make significant progress towards your goal. And so you have your big vision, and I like a 25-year window. In fact, if you think about it, 25 years is 190-day periods, right? That's what my coach Dan Sullivan taught me, and I really like it because there's no such thing as unrealistic goals. There's only unrealistic deadlines, right? There's no such thing as unrealistic goals. There's only unrealistic deadlines. So is this famous saying that goes, we tend to overestimate what we can achieve in the short term and underestimate what we can achieve in the long run. So what's really helpful under this heading of key number 4 is to think about, where do I want to be in 25 years? That gives you a direction. It gives you the North Star. It's like your beacon. Now, and then you say, well, where am I right now? Well, you give yourself, let's say, a 7.5 in the area of love and relationships, in my case. And you can have a few words to explain what it means. Then where do I want to be in 90 days from now, 1 quarter? I want to be for instance, at an 8 or an 8.5, let's say an 8. Okay, what can I do in the next 90 days? 2 to 3 things, not too much. And then have I actually achieved that? After 90 days, you can put a tick mark there. And again, 90 days is only 1% of 25 years. So what's 1%, right? Even if you screw up the whole quarter, it's still only 1%. So let alone screwing up a day, because a lot of we tend to beat ourselves up for the fact that we have missed goals, and we tend to only look at the things that we didn't achieve rather than the things that we did achieve, right? That's another concept. I'm not going to go into that right now, although I briefly mentioned it. Okay, I'll give it to you. It's interesting. If you would put, if you take a group of people that are by, let's say, societal standards, very, very, very successful in any or more areas of their life. For instance, famous actors, billionaires, what have you, Nobel Prize winners. Yeah. and you put them together. Let's say I got 100 of them, and I split them in two groups. Group number A is a group of people that will answer to the question, are you happy? Are you fulfilled in life? Who will say yes. And group B are the people who will say no. No, I'm miserable, right? Then you will get, let's say, 50-50. So you get 50 people that say, yeah, I'm very happy, and there's another 50 people that say, I'm miserable. Now, if you start to analyze these people by their level of success, by societal standards, how many Nobel Prizes do they have? How many books have they written? You know, how many famous movies have they made? Then there is no difference. There is no significant difference between the two groups, which means that your appreciation, now listen carefully, of your own assessment of your own life situation is not a function of what you have achieved, but it's a function of how you are looking at your current situation. And you know, the only difference is that the people who consider themselves miserable are the people who compare their current situation with where they would have liked to be. They had set themselves perhaps some goals, maybe they even wrote them down, but then, you know, I don't know about you, but if I plan 11 things for today, I may only get 5 or 6 done. Well, I can say, well, I didn't get these 5 or 6 done. The other 5 or 6, I didn't get them done, so I failed. I'm a big failure. Or I can say, well, but I still did get 5 to 6 things done. And so I can measure my current situation towards where I came from, whether it was this morning or a month ago or a year ago or 90 days ago, or I can measure my current life situation versus where I would have liked to be. And so there are no unrealistic goals, there's only unrealistic deadlines. Most goals are artificially set. Most deadlines, I should say, are artificially set. In fact, most goals are, well, not artificially set, that's a little bit too harsh, but let me ask you this question and just be very honest with yourself. Are the goals that you are pursuing right now your goals, or are they somebody else's vision for your life? Maybe a spouse, maybe a parent, a teacher, maybe your boss, you know? And if you think about it, if you continue to pursue other people's goals that they have set for you, one day or another, you will feel extremely miserable. You will feel empty inside. You feel like abused because you just wake up to this notion, this reality that you have been chasing other people's goals, and you've been working very hard at it. And the more focused, the more how would you say that? The more persistent, the more energy you put into chasing other people's goals, the farther away you get from your own goals. So make sure you are deliberate about the goals you set, and be gentle with yourself on assessing your progress. So that's key number 4. Then we got 3 more to go with 15 minutes. Key number 5 is be present. It's very important. And by the way, the examples that I'm giving to you and the explanation of the keys is just scratching the surface, because there's much, much, much more in each of the keys. It's like containers. I mean, I've got only 7, so I have to fill them up. So I'm trying to give you the key essence, but there's much more, of course, in this whole container in terms of exercise, in terms of key concepts, in terms of, let's say, skills that you need to learn, about knowledge that you need to acquire. That's why I need a year to coach you, not only to get the knowledge. I mean, knowledge you can get for free on the internet, by the way, and even my knowledge, but skills need time to develop. Some people say 21 days, some others say 66 or 67 days, or a quarter. I tend to say, well, it takes at least a quarter, if not a year. Why? Think about the beginning, where this world is so big of attraction, so full of confusion, that we really, really, really need to internalize these new habits, these skills, so that we will be able to respond in an automatic way. And we want to have more skillful responses in confusing, complex situations, full of dilemmas, and full of temptations, and full of fear. Because as the saying goes, I like that one too, when when emotions are high, intelligence is low. When emotions are high, intelligence is low. So that is for people who are afraid. So if you are scared, then what happens is your blood goes to your reptilian brain. You get into fight-flight modus. So it's your muscles that need to function. It's your heart that needs to work, your lungs, and which means the blood goes away from your prefrontal cortex, where all the thinking and evaluation happens. So you cannot think clearly if you have a highly aroused emotional state. Whether you're very fearful, anxious, or perhaps you are in love. I don't know. We all have been in love. We know people who are in love. They're not very rational, right? So when emotions are high, intelligence is low. So that's why we need to learn to make these new and better ways, these new skills, these new behaviors so much ingrained, so much our new normal, that we can respond in very unpredictable, fearful, high emotional states. That's why it takes a year to really make them your own. So be present is extremely important, of course, because as I said before, the present moment is the only thing there is, the only moment there is. And I don't know about you, but being with somebody who is fully conscious, who's fully present with you, like you are the only person on the planet for them, you know, you feel that. You feel like, wow, it's such a big gift. It's like this person, this busy person, this person that has so many choices, is giving her full, undivided love and attention to me right here, right now. Time stops. So being present is extremely powerful for building a great relationship, for making progress, for enjoying life, for tasting everything there is to taste. So, but it's not easy. And there is lots of exercises you can do there. Mindfulness, the most important one and easiest one is to breathe, right? So if you feel you're somewhere else with your mind in the past or in the future, then stop, call yourself the stop, and say, and then breathe. Sit straight, take a deep breath, and do that a few times, and that helps you to get grounded, to get present. But there's more than that, because I want you to be present and aware while being in action. Eckhart Tolle calls it awakened doing or conscious action. I want you to have part of your brain to be conscious, aware, present of you. So the you that is interacting with the world, with other people, that's doing tasks, is fully inundated. And some people call it, well, you are in flow. And I love the idea of flow, but there's only one problem. In flow, you are not very conscious. You are like in a movie. And then the movie stops and you wake up and you're like, oh, what has happened? And then 2 hours have passed, right? So it's great to be in a movie, to be fully inundated, to be fully in flow, because that's where you do your most creative work or you are most enjoying yourself. But I'd like you to have a part of you to continuously try to be alert and awake and present, so that you can catch yourself the moment that you tend to react in an unskillful way, to a trigger, somebody that says something nasty to you, or somebody that cuts you off in traffic, or whatever it is. So try to be present. There's many ways to practice that. It takes time. Be gentle with yourself. We're almost there. Key number 6. What is key number 6? Remember, we talked about being deliberate, being focused, being unique. Now, this one is a very important one, which may sound counter to that. what does it say? Be adaptable, be flexible. Why is that important? Especially as you are interacting with the world, it's extremely important to be able to adapt. Keep an open mind. There's always new information. It's like Jack Canfield likes to say, you have a map of the territory. You know where you have a plan, an action plan. You've got your goals, you've got your action steps, you've got your bigger vision. You know where you want to go. You know when you're making progress, how to measure progress. But there's many ways that get you to Rome. There's not one way. There's many ways that can get you to your vision. So have an open mind. Don't be rigid. Be adaptable. And like Jack Canfield says, it's as if you are driving a car. You can see about 100 meters ahead of you in the headlights. You're driving a car during the night. But you don't need to see the whole road. So let's say you go from New York City to California, to Los Angeles. You don't need to have a headlight when you leave New York City that shows Los Angeles. It doesn't work like that. You can, as long as you can see about 100, 200 meters ahead of you, that's more than enough. But that means that once you drive 10, let's say 100 meters, there's the next 100 meters that you can see, and then you got new choices. Maybe there's a fork in the road, and you need to make decisions on do you go left or right. So be open-minded, be adaptable, and that's another skill that you need to learn, because you got your principles, your values, your mental systems, your programming, your experience from the past, and that tends to dictate your current responses in the current situation. Why? Because our body likes to be in homeostasis, like the temperature in a room stays at the same level. Your body temperature is 37 degrees. Your heartbeat, it's all kind of your blood pressure, that your body regulates all that so that it stays in the optimal condition. That's the same thing with our behaviors. We tend to keep recreating our current reality because we keep repeating the same behaviors in the same circumstances. So if you really want to make a step change, a transformational change in your life or in your business, you need to, let's say, adopt new thinking and new possibilities. You need to start experimenting, which means you need to be adaptable. And key number 7 is perhaps, I mean, they're all important, but maybe this is the most important one. In a way, it's a virtue, and maybe it's the virtue of all virtues, being grateful for everything in your life. Be grateful for everything in your life. Gratitude is the shortest route to happiness. There's 5 tricks, let's say strategies, that will bring you instant happiness. I mean, a feeling of happiness. And there's a whole body of research on the science of happiness and positive psychology. We have no time to get into that. But basically, everyone has a range of happiness. And of course, some people are generally more happy than others. There's people who are more neurotic, more depressed. But within, let's say, each general level, there is a range. And you can be at the lower end of your range of happiness, or you can be at the higher end. So if I ask you, how happy are you? Doesn't matter where you are with your band. If you are at this level, at the top end of your range, your band, you say, I'm happy. If you are at the bottom end of your band, you say, no, I don't feel so happy. So, and that is the same for everyone, no matter where the absolute level of happiness is. So, and purpose of life is to be happy, is to enjoy it. In fact, it's funny, when I did my coach certification a couple of years ago, my coach said to me, Mark, if I can give you one piece of advice, just relax and enjoy life. And I'm like, can it be that easy? Yes, it can be that easy. So gratitude is the shortest route to happiness. Exercise is another one. Journaling is one. There's more, but this one, being grateful for everything in your life, is extremely important. So what do you do at the end of the day? You and also at the beginning of the day, by the way, you make a little list. It's an exercise that I'd like you to do, to think about what are the things that I'm grateful for right now. And just write it down, try to do it every day, and it will make a huge, huge, huge positive impact on your life. So those are the 7 keys to transform your business and your life. I call them God mode keys because not only because of my name, but that's why I give myself permission to use that term. I think if we're able to do that, then we can live like as much as close as we can come to this idea of God, the universe, higher power, whatever you call it. So finally, I got 2 minutes left before I give the word back to Chris. I hope you enjoyed it. I had to go very, very, very fast. I hope it gave you value. I hope you are making some progress. You've got some new ideas. Now, if you like it, then go to my website, markgod.com. Okay, and I'm going to write it down for you, Mark. Go to my website, markgod.com. There you can buy my book. It's going to be released somewhere in September. God Mode, the 7 breakthrough keys to transform your business and your life. You can also get some information on my coaching work, so you can connect with me. And again, I wish you all the best in your life. I wish you a big, bold, bright future now, and have the biggest impact in the world that you can have, and have the greatest amount of happiness and joy that you can imagine. Thank you very much.
Mark, it's Chris. I was just popping in to say I was grateful for the time that you were spending with us tonight. Hour and a half. You put in basically a year's work of knowledge and passion and experience into 90 minutes, if that's even possible. So I just quickly made this little image taken from your website, markgod.com, where people can pre-buy your book already, and obviously reach out to you if they'd like more coaching or other support. So outstanding. Thank you so much. And on the campus party event tomorrow, you're going to be doing another short presentation, well, an hour, with one of the store managers and owners of a Fit20 about that technology and the experience and the benefits of that approach to physical fitness. So if people are available tomorrow midday, please join that as well. So great. Thank you so much, Mark. Is there any last comment before we sign off for the evening?
Well, just thank you for the opportunity. I love to have been given the chance to work directly with you. So wishing you a great rest of the campus party event and a wonderful evening. And Chris, thank you for facilitating this and helping with the technology and everything. So thank you all very much, and God bless.